tell us the role that you think good advisors play. How have you seen it evolving? Let's talk a bit about that in your journey, as well as when you move to the side where you could go across and cut the check, when you could go across and take the decision. How have you seen that evolving? What matters to you?
Well, yeah, the advisors, right? So as an investor or as a founder.
Before that, do you like the fact that between our break, the chai has come? How was the chai? It's made well in the house, isn't it?
Yes, it's very nice masala chai and I'm enjoying it.
Thank you. This is also a client, by the way, which I won't name right now.
I can probably guess, but that's okay.
Go on.
No, I think what I was saying is for a founder or as an investor, irrespective, advisors are there to help us in our decision making, right? So there are specific areas where either of us don't have expertise, and we're not expected to have expertise in all areas. And that's where we take help of advisors, and it's absolutely essential to have the right set of advisors at the right time for the organization or for us as investors. But I would also say that at some point, it tends to get a little extreme, that you don't start thinking on your own feet, I would say, and just blindly go with what advisors say.
Does that happen if you have especially good advisors?
No, not necessarily. Sometimes, unfortunately, even if it's a bad advice, people blindly follow it because an advisor is saying it, right? Without thinking through it or without applying and why and how, and a lot of time it happens.
I'm sure.
Has
it ever happened with you?
Not with Vertices, I'll clarify.
No, with you. Forget Vertices for a second. Have you ever had a situation where you've not thought through, irrespective of what your advisor said? I don't think that would ever happen.
Maybe in early days.
Okay.
Early days of my work experience, when we were doing deals and we would have heard lawyers as part of a deal advise something and maybe not thought through and understood why somebody is saying
that
what
in
they're saying.
In your journey as a co-advisor. I was talking about your journey as an investor.
As an investor, I think a little bit more maturity had come in by then. So you tend to kind of filter out what you're hearing. But it does happen. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Let's say it's an advice on tax, which you absolutely have no clue what the legal nuances implications are, and sometimes you might just blindly kind of say, oh, if this is what the section is saying, you just go by it, and that's happened. In some of our transactions, it happens. But then you need to step back and think through as to why this law came in or why this particular section came in and what does it have relevance to our, which I feel a lot of times get missed out. You just follow blindly what the advisor is telling you, whether it is the founder or the investor, equally to blame, and stop applying yourself. So, and also when it comes to decision making, it's important to take inputs, but not rely solely on the advice you're getting. You need to consult, you need to have different points of view and then make your own decisions and be accountable for that as well after, and not blame it on advisors.
So how's your journey been as an investor? You've come across several advisors. In fact, our journey has involved me knowing you from your day one in Abler, given the fact that I was actually advising Abler even before you joined.
Correct.
So how has it been in terms of the journey? How has it been in terms of you seeing a lot of evolution with different advisors? But I don't want you to obviously talk about other advisors because you can't name them. So let's not talk about those aspects. But if you were to talk about us as such, which I think you can freely talk about given this is my podcast.
Yes.
But if you have to just talk about evolution of an advisor, what do you see the evolution to the role play in? What are your expectations? This is more for a lot of our viewers to understand if they have to look at the right set of advisors. That could be the banker, that could be the lawyer, that could be the chartered accountant, that could be the company secretary. There are multiple stakeholders as you build. Likewise, there's a multiple stakeholders as an investor that you need in terms of taking that foolproof call.
Yeah.
What are the aspects that you see as advisors' roles, evolving to, and what do you think matters the most to you?
I think from an advisor perspective, what we see is that how practically is the advisor, whether it is legal, tax, accounting, whatever, whichever format is it, like so how practically are they thinking about this particular point? Is it just that you're reading the section and just applying it into whatever situation we are dealing with, or are you also looking at it from a business perspective? And many times that's not the case, right? When you look at let's say any financial diligence that we get done, it's so accounting driven. This is not followed, and this is why your adjustment. Why is the adjustment? I mean, why has the company not followed it? Have you tried to analyze it? Right? This company has not paid tax on this particular or not deducted TDS. Simple examples. But then they don't go ahead and understand why the company has not done what is done. And that's where I think advisors get differentiated. The one who actually tries to understand and give the rationale to us. Otherwise, we have to go and do it anyways. But it will be helpful if the advisors can add that little push, right? I mean, even with Vertices for that matter, I think the beauty of working with Vertices for so long is that you understand what our do's and don'ts are, what are negotiable, not negotiable. That makes it easy to work with. But the added advantage is that we are investing from a business rationale perspective and not because of a legal document that we have to get signed.
Yeah.
That's only an outcome of a business decision that we have taken. So how do you accommodate that into the documents and make sure all the parties are aligned and are on the same page is something which you do. And I think you've passed it now to the team, because I don't see you anymore on our transactions. It's always the team.
Because I have to be busy hosting people like you.
Yeah, true. And podcast it. But the team does it now. So, but I've also seen that there are a lot of advisors.
That's also my greatest strength of success, right? If you come around and tell me that when you don't see me enough, which is a lie, you see me whenever it matters to you. But the fact that you don't see me, to the extent necessary, because it's not necessary anymore. But the fact that the team manages and there's no gap, I think that expectation to be matched for any advisor's perspective. To match that expectation that where an advisor is used to X as an individual, because ours is person-centric, right? Our business has always been person-centric. You come from that background. And then to institutionalize it. I think the biggest win is when the person-centric essence moves to the team and the client does not feel the gap. I think that is very cool.
That is true, Vibhi. What you're saying is absolutely true. But for you as well, there is a journey in that, right? It doesn't happen overnight.
Absolutely.
And your clients need to live through that journey.
You've seen it. You've lived it with me.
I have lived it, but what I'm saying is not everybody will live through that journey, right? People need quick fixes. And they might just snap and switch. So that also is the reality of life.
Thankfully, we've not had that ever.
Good for you. Good for you. But that happens. And I've seen that happen. Where people don't have the patience to deal with new teams or new people coming in and therefore switch.
So, if you have to address, and this is where a lot of times people try to go across and look at it in a manner at times. And I face this a lot, right, Smriti? I am known mostly in the country as the founder's go-to counsel.
Yeah.
I have exceptionally certain amount of investor clients who are literally married to me. Luckily, Abler and you guys are one of them who I've seen the journey from day one. Right? There's several others also like that. But I've also had this feedback where perhaps one of the things that comes across and helps is when you have an advisor who is also resonating with the founder's mindset. Because at the end of the day, it's about getting the deal done.
Yeah.
With the must-haves and the good-to-haves, but being able to distinguish it.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's not about my comma being prettier than your comma. It's about ensuring that the deal doesn't get a full stop within the parameters.
Correct.
So, do you believe that, and again, in terms of an advice to a lot of our viewers, do you believe that from the advisor perspective, the quotient of empathy to the counterparty side is equally important? Because what you don't want is a facilitator. Any advisor is a facilitator. What you don't want is a facilitator to come in and create disruption at a level where the deal may get done, but there is this little bitter aftertaste for the marriage parties to continue, which is you and the founder in your case. So do you believe having a mindset of maybe more empathy than just theory always adds value to getting a deal closed?
Absolutely, yes. I don't think there is two thoughts about it. But I think it's also a very persona driven, I think, and not just one advisor company versus other. I mean, there are people who get the deal done in the same way, whether it's on the founder side or on the investor side. So it's not, I mean, coming back to your point on whether it's more empathy when you also represent a lot of founders may not always necessarily be true, because it then boils down to you as a persona, right? That you understand and empathize with both sides. And I've seen that with some others as well. But the larger legal fraternity goes by the book. And it's not about deal making, it's about my comma versus your comma.